Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our Succession Season 4, Episode 8 reaction and review. This episode is titled America Decides, and I am here with a valuable message for everybody. The con heads are coming. You guys better be prepared.
Right?
All of you mindless zombies that are. At what point, there's a lot of controversial decisions that the ATN news desk is making throughout this episode.
Letting Connor go on the air with what he was going to actually do, but then turned out to just basically rally his base was like one of the worst decisions they made. Good for us, though.
Let Connor cook. That's like the only thing I gotta say out there. He's up there saying some interesting, not really great things, but he's still saying them.
He got exactly what he wanted. This whole episode, all he wanted was to get some airtime. That if he knew he wasn't going to win this election, he might be able to rally some people for the next election. And he just needed some screen time, and he got it.
We will of course have a larger conversation about Connor Roy through a lot of this. I mean, we'll have a lot of larger conversations about everything. This episode was basically just made for me as somebody who has watched an unseemly amount of like election night TV over the years. I was just like, I know we basically had our version of John King and the Magic Wall without John King. I was just like, could you guys not give me John King for like a cameo in a lot of this? I enjoyed this thoroughly, probably for that very reason. It was crazy and manic, but also like really entertaining.
Oh, it was really crazy. I mean, there were some big wins for Roman. There was some sort of questionable where Kendall is on all of this. And oh my goodness, Shiv just took loss after loss. She made a lot of mistakes, but she made one really bad pivotal mistake that was just it was actually really shocking as it was happening. Like we'll get more into that, but
Yeah.
there was just this one moment where she was there with Greg and I was like, "What are you doing?"
Well, before we dive any further into that, Jess and I recently started a Patreon here at the channel that we have a link for you guys in the description. And for everybody who's a Succession fan, which surprisingly, I'm guessing you guys are, if you are watching this video, we have some exclusive video content
Yep.
over there, including a big discussion about who we want to see on top at the end of all of this, using some of the evidence that we have seen on the show so far. It is a lively discussion, and there are some other benefits over there as well, including having your name at the end of these videos. We really appreciate all of the support, more than we could ever really say in these vids.
Yeah, we've got a Succession video over there right now. There's more to come, so hit that link in the description, help support the channel,
Yeah.
get some extra Succession content, which is what we know you're here for.
Okay, let's just start here with Greg, because this is the earliest that we have ever mentioned Greg's name in any Succession video all season. This is usually like our 15 to 16 minute, like after we've gone through some of the other people. It's just like, what is Greg doing? But here we are.
Yeah, Greg basically decided all of this. He was the person that actually just pushed that big red button that made all this happen. And as I alluded to at the beginning of this video, it's all because Shiv made this one gigantic mistake that was so easy to fix, which was she knew that Greg had information about Matsson. And Matsson went out drinking with him, gave him all this information, and we knew that he was sitting on it. And instead of being like, okay, let's work something out, where Greg was like, okay, I understand. You want me to be silent. Well, that silence is going to pay. Like, what do I get for that silence? Oh, you get that I'm not going to kill you. Okay, well, you're not going to actually do that anyways.
Yeah.
You should have just been like, what do you want? Oh, okay, cool. I want a better position. I want more money. I want whatever you want, you're going to get it if you just don't say anything. I'll make sure that Matsson does that for you if you keep silent. That is all she needed to say. And she has so much experience that I was just like, why didn't you say it? Like, you also have all this experience in politics. You know that you need to sort of shake hands, rub backs, do a favor for each other. He's got something on your whole deal that you've been putting together. I mean, we've seen this in the past too, long in the past, when Tom was told Greg, "Oh, I need you to shred these papers. Here's this box. Go shred all this sort of thing."
Yeah.
And Greg was like, "No, I'm just gonna keep a couple of these papers just in case." And Tom's like, what are you saying? Are you trying to like have something over on me?" "Yes, yes, I am." "Cool, you're out of the mailroom now. We're moving up with you. I like what you're doing," sort of thing. And that's what you have to do. You have to give to Greg to stop Greg.
Greg is just a master of falling upwards. Isn't he like really okay? I'm gonna both put a tinfoil hat on, and I'm also gonna pretend to be like a armchair or I guess like computer chair psychiatrist here,
All right.
and going into what's happening with Shiv in this moment because you are absolutely correct that the right thing that Shiv should be doing is just giving Greg something. You don't even have to
Mhm.
give Greg a lot. Like, he is just like the dog who is just like circling the dinner table wanting like a scrap, and you give him a scrap, he'll run away and be happy for a little bit. But I think the problems here are twofold. Number one is just pure ego. Like every person in the Roy family has that in them. And I think it's also that belittling Greg is everybody's favorite hobby. I mean, Tom basically gave Greg a swirly for about half an hour in this episode, and Greg just sort of took it. But this is
But
the
even Tom knows when it's time to pay Greg.
this is the other problem I think with all of this, especially just with Shiv, and maybe this is why Shiv couldn't realize that it was the time to pay Greg. It's that I think Shiv is miserable. I think that is abundantly clear through her shouting match with Tom, everything
Mhm.
that's happened with Madsen. She cast her lot in with this guy who is just a complete lunatic, sending people blood, all this other stuff. And I just think ultimately she couldn't see the forest through the trees because, and I hate this, but I think it's true with a lot of us as humans, is that we always want to think that we're like, okay, well, at least I'm not that person. And I think in Shiv's head, she's just sort of being like, you know what? At least I'm not Greg. I will never be Greg. I will always be
Yeah.
better than Greg. And so she could not bring herself to go on Greg's level and treat him seriously.
But here's the other thing is there has been this back and forth with Shiv and Tom all season long. And, the disgusting brothers, she even brought
Yeah.
that up again. I really thought that there was going to be that moment that not only was she going to give Greg whatever he wanted, she was going to do it in a way that she took Greg from Tom. That was just going to be another move where it was like, "Oh, I'm going to tell Tom that I'm pregnant," and Tom's going to be like, "Are you telling the truth?" Like it was just I understand they don't trust each other, but that clearly hurt her. I was really surprised that she wasn't just like, "I'm going to pay Greg. I'm going to give Greg what he wants, and I'm going to take him from you."
It's kind of crazy, but even when we had Greg sort of walking to the control room in order to get this call out there, he stops and has this conversation. Like, I thought he was still kind of debating as to whether or not he was going to do it anyway, because I think Greg may be an idiot, and I do believe that Greg is an idiot, but I think he's also somewhere in his heart of hearts. I think he probably realizes that, Lincoln isn't really the best idea. I just think he can't see through just the balance of power and what would happen if he's to do this and all the dominoes that would fall. Greg wants to sort of be in a position that he's never the fall person. He can just watch somebody else fall and be like, ha ha ha, you fell over.
Listen, I don't think anybody except Roman there at this point
Yeah.
was like happy that Mencken was going to be the president. Everybody had pretty solemn looks on their face where they're like, "We just don't
Yeah.
know what is going to happen now." Like, yeah, ATN will be fine because Roman's pals with him and, oh, he's already getting a call and puts Roman in a very sweet spot right now. He's the person that has the direct line to him. They're friends. They know each other, fairly well. So, I mean, Roman's really also put himself in a really good spot where everyone else is kind of like, okay, the company's going to be okay. It's going to squash the Gojo deal, but, at what cost? Because it really is just like, are they going to be okay, or is just the company going to be okay?
This is the hilarious part of this show, is that we can sit here and be like, this person's great. This person has no chance of being in charge. Like,
Nobody's great.
yeah,
Everybody's terrible
but
people.
Roman seemed like he was just drawing dead like just an episode or two ago.
Oh, yeah.
He was like getting rid of Joy. There was the disaster with Jerry. He is like doing everything wrong. But with Macon getting into office, it's suddenly like some of that is washed away. However, the tinfoil hat is still on, by the way.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
never took it off.
All
So
right.
this is
We're
where
still riding this
this is
tinfoil hat.
this is where things, I think, are probably going to get really chaotic in the next couple of episodes because there was such a big to-do in here about Wisconsin. Hello, Wisconsin. That's a 70s show reference for all of you. You're welcome.
Yeah.
But no, I no. Wisconsin and the call that is made here and everything that's going on with the burning ballots, he really pushed for Mencken to get this. And it seems like for now, that is okay. But it also feels like there's going to be a very, very long, drawn out process with all of this. And I don't even know if we'll see all this on the show because we're just like getting it one day after another. But there's a universe to me where it turns out that through whatever reason, these votes were clearly not for Mencken, were for Jimenez. ATN calling the election for Mencken just ruins everything, causes this huge collapse, and it seems like Tom has sort of been set up as the fall person.
Yes, he has again.
But at the same time, could it be revealed that Roman is very close with Mencken? They've had this long-standing relationship, and that this is sort of the thing that could come to just like yank the carpet out from Roman, and Roman just falls on his face.
I think it's going to be tough. It just depends on how it comes out because I mean, I think everyone kind of had an idea that Logan also had a relationship with the former president and nobody really kind of said boo about it. I mean, that was actually a really interesting conversation that was happening too between the siblings where Roman was kind of like, you know, what would dad do? He would absolutely call it. I'm just like, he doesn't want the Gojo deal to go away. He put this deal together. He wants this deal to happen. He absolutely wouldn't have called it because he wants the deal to happen. Like, what are you talking about?
I don't know if he's either just like so wrapped up in his grief that he doesn't understand what he's saying, or he's just like lying straight through his teeth on some of this stuff.
Everybody is. This is where we get to the next mistake that Shiv made. That wasn't as bad as the Greg one. The Greg one was the one that unraveled everything. She could have stopped this, but you know, she didn't. It was faking that call. She should not have faked that call. She should have just made the call but made it in another type of way where she still kept the deal together, that they weren't really going to help, but kind of get those kind of maybe we'll think about it, but not really, so that she could have gone back with that, because I think that's actually where they probably would have landed anyways.
It's so funny that there's a speech in this episode with Shiv and Kendall where Shiv is just kind of like, you're a good guy, Kendall. You're a good, and it's just like Shiv tries to be, in my view, quote unquote, good in this episode in the sense that she does not want to come across as just like a straight up operative for Jimenez. She doesn't want to like cross these big lines, whereas Roman, so you go to a sporting event sometimes and you have like these obnoxious people that have like something painted on their chest. It's like go team or whatever. Roman has I love Mencken on his chest, and he's just like walking around the newsroom with it for everybody to see.
That was also a really, you know, smooth move that Roman had where he was basically like, I'm going to the bathroom, I'll be right back. But really, he's down on the floor feeding Ravenhead a bunch of stuff. I was just like, whoa, okay.
Roman
was really on top in this episode. He was really just firing on all cylinders. He was able to get exactly what he wanted. And as soon as it was called, the new president's calling him.
It's something that feels so smart in the moment. And yet I think it's just because this show has just given me serious trust issues. It's just like,
I know.
I don't think anybody is ever going to be in the clear. Like let me make this clear. You know, Kendall is not the person who I want to see running this at the end of the series.
You can see that over on our Patreon. We have a way bigger discussion on who we want and who we think could end up on top at the end of the series.
Yeah, and it's just like, I don't want that, but you can make a case through this episode just solely that because what could happen to Roman, what could happen to Shiv because of Mattson, that, you know, Kendall could just sort of be there whistling away at the end of this, munching sunflower seeds and hanging out with Frank. But it's just also like, I don't I don't trust that either. Like, I don't trust anything. There are 2 episodes still to go, and they're pretty long, so it's like a lot could still happen.
Yeah, I mean, Kendall really just felt very out of sorts. He's being pulled in a lot of different directions. Like,
Yeah.
yes, he wants the Gojo deal to go away, but he wants to make sure that the right person is in power running the country. He knows that things have been happening to his daughter. He wants her to be safe. He's got a car following them to make sure everything's okay. He's starting to get back to that headspace where he just feels like he's out of control. He's losing control of himself. He's getting very down. And we've seen him in that spot many times before where it hasn't gone very well for him.
This, I think, is a very, this is gonna be a very underrated Jeremy Strong episode, I feel like, because he didn't have, like, that he didn't have the Living Plus monologue, he didn't have, like, that one moment, but I think Kendall, the character, is best when we get, like, these little moments that show that he still has empathy, and he does still
Yes,
care for some people, like,
he does.
with Rava and with his daughter in the car. I think that scene was really, really good. And
Yep.
then later on in the episode where he's just basically, he openly admits to caring for his daughter and being worried for the future of the country and the future of the company. So I think these things are really tearing at him, and he is still the head of this company alongside Roman for right now. And if these, like, moralistic viewpoints from Kendall Roy, never thought I'd be saying this, if these continue to, like, bubble up, like, we could see a real clash between these two, in, like, sooner rather than later.
I really liked that conversation that he had with Shiv because he was very honest with her. I mean, even down to, I have a little bit of jealousy that,
Mhm.
Roman has this tight relationship with Mencken and I don't have that relationship. He was even honest to be like, I want to be the only one wearing the crown. I don't want to share the crown with my brother, but my brother has this incredibly tight relationship with Mencken. Like, it was good to see him. I love these moments with Kendall when
Yeah.
he is very honest and really in his feelings about stuff. Like we saw when he was with his siblings and he admitted to everything that
Oh, yeah.
happened, at Shiv's wedding. And he really digs into the honesty of it, which is why, it's backed right up on Shiv doing this lie about the phone call and him finding out right away and just walking right back around, right back into that meeting room and be like, how could you? Like, we just had this really honest
Yeah.
conversation, and then you're just gonna do me dirty like this. Like, for what? Now look at what's happening to you. Now who's stupid?
Why is this show making? Don't make me feel things for Kendall Roy's Succession, please. He's one of the last people I want to relate to. But okay, we still have a few more things about Shiv and Tom to get into, but let's have a brief detour into Connor's corner here for a
All
moment,
right.
because Connor, I do still want there to be some sort of larger meaning behind everything with Connor beyond just, okay, he had his speech and he gets to be, I'm guessing, like, ambassador for Slovenia, which I guess means he can travel
Oh,
easily.
I doubt that that's coming together after what he did. I
Hey,
mean, he was supposed to go in and basically be like, "Hey, I'm dropping out now," even though everybody's already cast their ballots. "Hey, I'm out, but I'm all Team Mencken," and like that isn't what happened.
no,
He basically went on. It was just like, "Hey guys, here's my base. We're rallying. Just wait. I'm still going for." I was like, "Wow, good for you. You wanted that airtime,
yeah,
and you found a way to get it. You manipulated your whole family to get it, but you got it."
just make yourself the ambassador to Slovenia, Connor. You can go over there. You can hang out with, like, Luka Doncic. There you go. 2 basketball references and 2 straight Succession videos. You're welcome, tiny cross section of Succession and basketball fans. But, like, I think I just want to see a spinoff of, like, Connor in some, like, very weird location beyond America with, like, Willa, and they're trying to, like, make
Figure it out.
yeah, it's like Willa, once again, most supportive person on the show. She's there consoling him. Connor also saying, the guy in Uruguay, which I give him so much credit for, like, finding a way to rhyme something with Uruguay, which seems like almost impossible.
No, Roman was right. His rhymes were really cute.
Yeah, I still feel for Connor a lot coming out of it, because I think he's also just sort of like a microcosm of how we're supposed to feel about the other siblings, where it's like here is this guy, a part of their family, who is running for president. This is like his wedding is one of the biggest days of his life. This is one of the biggest days of his life. His wedding day, Logan dies. His election day, the siblings are so preoccupied with other things. Like the first person he talks to is Tom. It's not Kendall or Shiv or Roman.
It was still kind of like, I understand they're running, obviously a news organization, but his family, his siblings are running this. They can't give him a minute of screen time to say anything. Like, come on. It made me feel so bad for him again, where it's just like, he's part of one of the most powerful families in America that own the news, and he can't even get a moment on there.
He's a moron, but he's our moron. Like the part of this, the part of it where he's just like bragging about being a billionaire in his speech, and he's basically just like making fun of all the people who voted for him and then trashing the entire institution. It's just like, Connor, this is not smart. Nothing you're doing is smart, but I want you to keep going.
Maybe they'll appreciate his honesty.
I appreciate it.
It's hard sometimes in those types of positions because, not everybody's very honest when people are running. So, him going out and doing that, who knows? Maybe next time around, people will be like, at least he's honest about who he is.
Conheads, rise up.
All right.
Let's get into somebody else who is honest. And amidst all of her lies in this episode, Shiv was very honest to Tom about one very big thing.
Yeah, and I was actually really surprised that she told him at all, but at the same time, this is like now been multiple times that he has suggested that she's directly responsible for her father dying, which is cruel. Cruel. I mean, even let's say that it's true, which from everything that I've seen and I've watched on the show, that's not true. No one is responsible for him passing away. Death is something that's not somebody's responsibility. But him continuing to like hit that drum over and over again to be like, you're responsible. He died because of you. It's just cruel. And because he's doing that, I understand why she wanted to lash back and kind of be like, well, guess what? I'm having your baby. So, up yours. I was still surprised she did it because of the position that she's in. She's pregnant right where, the company is kind of moving in different directions of power, and she's trying to get a handle on that. She doesn't want anyone to know so that she can continue to sort of keep up this facade that she's playing with everyone and she's able to go forward, and that, there's no pregnancy to see here. Everything is going to be just A-okay. I need to be in charge. And sometimes that happens where people get pregnant and all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, now they're a write-off, which is ridiculous, but it happens, right? So now she's told Tom, of all the people, and his reaction makes sense too, where he's just like, is this real, or are you just like, is this another play on me? Because this is what they've been doing this whole time. But it's really like hit me in the heart to hear that. I mean, it is Mother's Day Succession. Like, what are you doing?
Such a happy story about parenting to be told on Mother's Day.
I know.
I think one of the interesting elements of all this is just both Tom and Shiv on some level. Tom is projecting it a little bit more so than Shiv does, but both of them do have emotions. Both of them do have, some element of a heart beneath all this like bravado and all this nastiness that's there. But they
have been so bad to each other, and we've seen it here in the comments. There are people who are like, totally team Shiv and Tom is the worst, and totally team Tom and Shiv is the worst. They have both done things to each other and said things to each other. They are both not great.
But and I think that's sort of the interesting thing about this is that Shiv, on some level, I think that there's the business implications and everything that you've mentioned, and I think it's also, I think she wanted a good moment to say it. Like, I really do. I think she wanted to have something to celebrate here, because I don't think she wants to be, a bad mother in the way that her mother's been a bad mother to her and Kendall and Roman. I think she does want on some level something more, but even she says this when she admits it to Tom. She's just basically like, well, there's never really a great time to admit it. And I think on some level, maybe like subconsciously, she was holding out for a more positive moment. They just had this shouting match. She doesn't say it then. She comes into this thinking that, okay, maybe if I, apologize in part for some of what I'm doing, this will be a better opportunity, but Tom's just like not having it. Tom is just fully in like nope mode. And I think at that point, she probably just snaps and she's probably just like, there may never be a good moment.
Yeah, I mean, I understand strategically why she was trying to apologize as well, that it's not just so that she could tell him in this moment. I mean, this is not the right moment, and I think
Yeah.
she knows that, but she wanted things to move away from Megan and into where she wanted things to go. And Tom is the head of ATN right now, and he's the driving force on a lot of stuff. So she could get Tom back by being like, "Hey, man, really sorry about the things I said. What about you? You also sorry?" "Nah, I'm not sorry." And it just all, went sideways.
This
You're to blame for Logan's death. Again, he just is doubling down.
Well, I mean, what a phenomenal episode. There's so much more we could even still get into. Like the don't apparently have wasabi or like lemon water nearby.
Okay, since we're 25 minutes in, here's
Yeah.
a quick story time about wasabi. The one and only time I've ever actually
Yeah.
touched wasabi. I've actually never had it. I was having sushi. I was like, I'm driving. Had stopped at,
Yeah.
the grocery store, Loblaws, for anyone else is up in Canada. I'm Canadian. So I was up there. I had my
Yeah.
sushi. I was like, driving and I'm eating my sushi and I touched that wasabi and I was like, oh, okay, that's not actually sushi. And I put it back down and then continued to eat. And I had forgotten that I had touched it and I rubbed my eye. That whole situation that was happening, like, was giving me flashbacks to when and my only experience with wasabi right in my eye while I'm driving. I was also trying to, like, what do I have in the car? I got a pullover. I got water. I got pop. What do I have I could put in my eye? It was terrible. I felt so bad for that guy. I was like, oh, I feel you.
Hopefully,
I've been there.
hopefully you didn't use like lemony LaCroix water. Or
No,
anything.
I had a bottle of water
Okay,
in the
good
car,
for
but
you.
it wasn't helping. Nothing was helping.
No. I the only time I've had it really was that I got like a bento box at like a restaurant in Dallas once. It just had like a little clump of wasabi. I put that
Yep.
whole thing in my mouth.
Oh,
That was a mistake.
I would rather that than in my eye. I feel like
I-
that would be better because that
Yours was
eye thing
worse.
was really bad.
Yours was worse. There's no denying that. Now I think this episode, it packed a lot in. There's a lot of great moments in here. No matter where you lie, it seems like the next episode is going to be the funeral for Logan.
Yep.
We're going to have a lot to talk about, and all of that. We'll have a preview discussion for that soon.
Yep, that will be up tomorrow. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Come back tomorrow for a preview here at the channel. And like we've said, you can join our Patreon. There's more Succession discussion going on over there.
Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you here next time.